Julie was a commoner that lived in Casa City. She was born from a poor family, she had never attended school, and she would later marry a carpenter. Her husband was a good carpenter, and she had given birth to 2 children. Life was very good. From time to time, they were even able to afford magic vegetables. Julie's home wasn't far from the Marquee merchandise store. Generally, she would go there to buy things because it had a good reputation and their prices weren't high. Today, Julie went to the Marquee store to buy some daily necessities because her husband had just made a business deal, earning them 5 gold. She thought about buying a magic radish that she could prepare at home for them to eat. The reason she was going to buy a magic radish was because of her 2 children. They were now going to school at the East District's Casa Magic Academy, and their results were very good. Listening to the school's teacher, she knew that if her children were to eat more magic vegetables, they would be more likely to become midges. Parents wanted their children to amount to something, so Julie and her husband would simply eat less just so that their children could eat a magic vegetable every week. For the average commoner, this was already a very good amount. Julie felt surprised the moment she entered the Marquee store because of the magic radishes she saw in the vegetable area. Magic radishes were certainly something she recognized because it was oftentimes the only magic vegetable she could afford. The reason Julie was in a daze was because these magic radishes didn't look the same as the ones she had bought before, which were short and had a bizarre shape. These magic radishes were long and plump, round and straight. Looking at it, you couldn't help but want to take a bite. The moment Julie walked over, one of the employees immediately went up to her and smiled. "Hello, this is our store's newest magic radish. It is very high quality, better than any others on the continent." When Julie saw the magic radishes, although she was somewhat reluctant, she still wanted to buy a little. But these magic radishes looked like they weighed a minimum of 2 pounds, which would make them cost 23 silver coins. To be honest, she could barely bear to spend that much money. However, because of what the employee said, Julie picked up one magic radish. "I guess I can buy one to taste it." The employee immediately smiled. After telling her that the radish actually weighed a little more than 3 pounds, Julie paid the money and then brought the magic radish back home. At lunchtime, Julie used half the magic radish to make a soup. Her eldest son, a 12-year-old, was officially starting to learn magic. The sooner he could master meditation and feel the power of magic, the greater his achievements in the future would be. It was precisely because of this that Julie and her husband insisted that their children eat a magic vegetable at least once a week. It was a simple meal of bread and magic radish soup, which showed that they were living a good life. You should know that many commoners in Casa City would only eat 2 meals a day, and those meals would generally only consist of staple foods, like bamboo rice. Julie's husband, Roel, saw the magic radish soup on the table. "You bought magic radishes today?" "I got some at the Marquee store. They say it's the best magic radish in the continent." Roel didn't say anything else as he sat down and ate. Their eldest and youngest son, Rory and Ross, also came in and took a sip of the soup. Just drinking the soup made Rory feel surprised. "Mom, today's soup tastes great." Ross nodded, agreeing. Julie smiled at her 2 sons, her heart full of joy. Then Roel drank the soup, and he was also shocked. He turned to Julie and said, "Today's soup really does taste great." Julie froze for a moment, then she reached down and also drank a mouthful of soup. Yes, indeed, it tasted better than any she had before. Not only did the soup taste good, she also felt some heat running through her body after drinking it. She was very puzzled as everyone finished the meal. Afterwards, Julie cleared the table while her son Rory went to his room to meditate. Rory was a sensible boy. He knew that his parents didn't have it easy, so he wanted to learn magic as soon as possible. One day, he would become a mage and give his parents a better life. Today, just as he began to meditate, Rory felt very different. He found himself feeling traces of energy all around him. It was like being in a strange new world where he was surrounded by small colored dots of light. Trying to feel this light, he didn't expect that they would suddenly start pouring into his body. Rory awakened. He wasn't that old, but he had been learning magic theory at his school for a few years. More recently, his teacher had started teaching him meditation and what it would feel like when he successfully meditated. Rory excitedly jumped up and ran out of the house, shouting, "Mom, I can meditate! I can meditate!" This alerted Roll and Julie. They both ran out of the house and gave a look of surprise at Rory. "Son, what did you say? Did you really learn meditation?" Julie asked. Rory excitedly nodded his head up and down. "Yes, I finally meditation. I can feel the magical elements, just like teacher said." Julie and Roll began to feel excited, but they also felt that something was strange. They didn't understand how Rory could suddenly learn how to meditate so fast. He had just started learning meditation 10 days ago. His teacher had told them that although their son was a talented child, because he hadn't eaten a lot of magic vegetables, it would take at least 1 month before he could feel the magic elements. It was because of this that Julie and Roll felt strange. Suddenly, Julie thought of the magic radish that she had bought. With this thought, she immediately ran into the kitchen and cut a piece of magic radish, then she ran back out and handed it to Rory. "Son, eat this piece of magic radish and see what it feels like." Roll saw what Julie did, then he understood. He stood there motionlessly as he stared at his son. As for Rory, he didn't quite understand, but he was obedient as he ate that piece of magic radish. After eating it, Rory felt some heat running through his body. His mind had never been this awake before as he immediately ran to his room and sat down, cross-legged. Julie and Roll also went to Rory's room, where they saw how fast he was entering meditation. Because of that, they then simultaneously ran straight towards the Marquee store. Similar situations were occurring throughout Casa City, whether they were commoners or the small elite. Their children had good magic talent, but because they weren't as rich as those great nobles that could eat magic vegetables like snacks, it would take their children a while to feel the magic elements. Zhao's magic radish had several times more magic elements than the other more common magic radishes, maybe even 10 times more. It was almost like a pill that would stimulate their children's magic talent, allowing them to feel the magic elements at a greatly accelerated speed. Even if the parents didn't understand magic, they could see that it had something to do with that magic radish, so they all immediately rushed to the Marquee store to buy more magic radishes. In the morning, Laura was able to sell 2,000 catty of Zhao's magic radishes, but immediately after lunch, they were sold out. Seeing all of those people in her store, Laura felt surprised. She had thought that it would take 3 to 5 days to sell 1 gin of magic radishes, so she didn't expect that they would be sold out in less than a day. Those magic radishes were now their biggest sellers. Laura quickly asked what was happening, and she found out that a lot of children in Casa City had finally successfully meditated after eating those magic radishes. She felt her head go thud. Naturally, she believed that it wasn't possible to master meditation just because of eating a magic radish, but it must have played a huge part. Otherwise, how could all of those children suddenly learn how to meditate? But whether it was true or not, as long as the word got out, this would only increase the Marquee store's reputation. Even those who were just curious would certainly come to the store to buy something.